News Live. Bombshells or duds? New court filings allege that Trump committed an impeachable offense. So why is he tweeting they prove he did nothing wrong? Will the next presidential election be a battle of the billionaires? For the first time on daytime TV, the man who turned the tide in the midterm elections, Michael Bloomberg, is talking about whether he'll take on Trump in 2020. Plus, Oscar and Emmy winner Aaron Sorkin on updating an American classic about a problem that's still plaguing our country today. And it's one-stop holiday shopping on View Your Deal. Hot topics are on the table with Whoopi, Abby Huntsman, Joy Behar, Sunny Hostin, and Meghan McCain. Now, let's get things started.
Madame Whoopi will be back tomorrow, but right now let's talk about what's going on in the world. I have to admit, I'm not convinced that Trump is guilty of committing a crime, but it sure seems like individual one is. Because he is individual one, get it? Among the latest filings from New York federal prosecutors is that Michael Cohen claims that individual one directed him to use campaign money to pay off Stormy Daniels and playmate Karen McDougal, which happens to be a federal crime.
Yeah.
But you know, he calls it, Trump already has said, this is not a crime. This was a private transaction. Then why would you get 4 years for a private transaction? Yeah. That's what Michael Cohen is going to get.
Well, I think it's significant in the sense that now you have the federal government, federal prosecutors saying that this president basically directed another person to commit a crime.
Right.
Because it's a felony to cause another person to make an illegal contribution. And I think that's one of the most significant things that has happened. But what most people are looking at is that Southern District filing. They're not looking at what the Mueller filing says. And the Mueller filing says that Michael Cohen really cooperated with the Mueller investigation. And in fact, he's been helpful on 4 main topics, Mueller writes. The Trump Organization's attempt to build a Trump Tower in Moscow. Apparently, Cohen gave a lot of information about that.
Yeah, but let me interrupt you. Trump said he just was working that out in case he lost.
Yeah, well...
So how do you answer that?
Well, that's...
He said that. I'm just taking his position for a second.
I don't know that we know the entire scope of what Mueller has, but we know that Michael Cohen cooperated with him extensively.
Right.
Talked about Russia, talked about the Trump business, talked about the Trump White House, talked about the campaign, and Mueller calls it useful. When a prosecutor says that was useful, you better believe it was useful.
Yeah.
And so it was useful to his investigation, and I think that really is what people aren't talking about, but probably should be.
You know, all this talk about Russian collusion, though, for the past 2 years, all the money that's been spent, the millions of dollars, there's still nothing that we know of as of right now on Russian collusion.
That's because Mueller has kept it very close to the vest.
Well, we also, and he's actually the winner in all this so far has been Mueller, because he has been so quiet, and I think every journalist out there is dying to get anything from him. But the thing I've been concerned about from the beginning has been campaign finance violations. Paying off someone, which is what...
Michael Cohen
What's interesting, and you mentioned this in the morning meeting, Joy, is that if he runs again and he wins, because of the statute of limitations, 5 years, it could be that he gets out scot-free. If there is a problem here and he can get indicted.
Well, you're talking about there's a policy in this Department
campaign finance violations.
Sitting president.
Wait. What?
Sorry.
What's your question?
She's referring to the fact that the Justice Department has a policy that you don't indict a sitting president. But I just want to mention...
It's not in the Constitution.
It's not in the Constitution, and the Supreme Court has never looked at that question. So in my view, that is still up in the air. Everybody's saying, well, he can't be indicted as a sitting president. I say take it to the Supreme Court.
Oh.
Just saying.
I mean...
Just saying.
I'm not a lawyer, obviously, but I do know that in 2008, Barack Obama's presidential campaign was guilty of violating nearly $2 million in campaign violations. The matter was quietly settled with a $375,000 fine of the Federal Election Commission. Guilty of violating or involving early $2 million. Rand Paul was on Meet the Press yesterday, and he said, quote, "If we're going to prosecute people and put them in jail for campaign finance violations, we've become a banana republic where every president gets prosecuted and everybody gets thrown in jail when they're done with the office." Now, there's many campaigns that
you can make the case,
but I'm just saying President Obama did it as well. And I will say that in our entire history, there have been 2 presidents impeached, obviously Bill Clinton, and then Andrew Johnson in 1868 after the Civil War.
I dated him,
Didn't work out.
Touche. And I'm just saying that it takes, I think we come in the morning, and I'm sure people watching at home when we turn on the news, I know that I'm getting this hysteria alarm every single morning, and I'm trying to delineate between what's fact and what's not fact as someone who isn't a lawyer.
Right.
Is there enough there? Does it seem like there's enough smoke there that there's potentially going to be something there? Yes, of course. Do I believe we're on the path to impeachment? Absolutely not.
I disagree with that, especially because I've been watching the Clinton affair on A&E. Clinton was
it's good. If you've not
real
seen
juicy.
that.
And Clinton was impeached for having an affair with Monica Lewinsky.
for lying.
No, for perjury.
But it was really for having an affair with Monica Lewinsky and lying about it. And lying about it.
Yeah.
But
I
that's what
think
got it.
that
It's perjury,
rises certain. If that rises to high crimes and misdemeanors, then you best believe that what Trump has done in terms of directing Michael Cohen to commit a federal crime better rise to the level. I don't know what Rand Paul is saying.
I want to quote Steve Bannon before we go. Can I quote Steve Bannon? Yeah. He says the president needs a team that can go to the mattresses. Don't you love a mafia? It's a mob. That's a mob phrase.
Did he just say that?
He wrote this. The president can't trust the GOP to be there when it comes. They don't feel any sense of duty or responsibility to stand with Trump. That's his biggest problem, that the GOP is not going to back him as soon as more of this stuff comes out. Yeah. And that's why he's like a trapped rat in the White House.
71% of Republicans think the Mueller investigation is a, quote, witch hunt, according to the NPR PBS NewsHour poll that came out last week. And right now, actually, for the first time, more Americans say they view Mueller more negatively than positively. At any other time, 29% favorably, 33% unfavorably, and I think there's a 7-point decline from the summer. I think part of this is Fisher Cup bait, man. Show me your
But you know what I don't understand?
Only
27% of Americans are Republicans. Why do the 27% of Americans that are Republicans control what everybody else is thinking? I think that the other 73% of Americans don't care about that.
Okay, all of that will be
Mueller investigation.
We'll be right out.
7%.
On the 12 days of you, Miss the ladies gave to me 12 whoopee sweaters, 11 Abby claps, 10 Megan giggles, 9 Joy, who cares?
Who cares?
8 View Your Deal, 7 Red Hot Topics, 6 Beltings, 5 Sunny, I love it. I love it. 4 Bernie Barks, 3 Austin Hens, 2 Idris Smiles, and the ladies wishing you happy holidays.
Well,
Up in 2020 and starting a revolution from Paris to Pittsburgh. Plus, Oscar and Emmy winner Aaron Sorkin. And View Your Deal for the holidays.
I don't have a lot of time today. So last week, Kevin Hart stepped down, apologized as Oscar host after some of his old anti-gay tweets emerged. You remember all that? Yes. Okay, but this weekend, his friend Nick Cannon asked he goes, interesting in these tweets he was doing. I wonder if there was any backlash here. And then he reposted tweets from comedians Sarah Silverman and Amy Schumer and Chelsea Handler, where they all used anti-gay slurs. So did he just open a Pandora's box here? And what is going to happen now? I mean, no comedian is safe.
Well, those women also weren't asked to host the Oscars.
Exactly.
I guarantee if they were asked, then people would have dug through their social media. One of the themes of this year, other than the Me Too movement, has been how quick we are to tear the people down. We look at their past, we judge them, we don't let them learn from their mistakes, and we don't forgive them.
That
and
seems
I
true.
feel like if I know anything about the gay community, and everyone at this table has close friends that are gay, they're about the most forgiving people in this world. And so I think we've got to get over this, being so quick to judge people, finding failure on every single person's part, and just moving on and bettering each other, bettering society.
First off, can I just say, just take the side of these three girls for a second. From what I know of their work, they are pro-gay comedians. They are not people. The Kevin Hart thing was very nasty, I thought. When he said, rape the doll's head and hit him on the head. I didn't like that at all. It upset me. But these girls, they don't, I shouldn't call them girls. We're not girls. We're men. No, kidding. Kidding. You know, these girls are comedians, and they love the gay community. The gay community loves them. They're icons of the gay community.
But they still,
so I don't see how
they out these intent. Is that
yeah, it's about
the intent, right?
What we were saying in the meeting, and I wish they had given us more time to talk about this, because this is actually one of the nucleuses where you and I have a lot of synergy.
Yeah.
Free speech is, I think, one of the tenets of being an American. I think it's extremely important. That doesn't mean that you can throw out slurs at people and not have ramifications in your work in one way or the other. But I don't want to live in a culture and a society where I think comedians and pundits in particular push boundaries for a reason. I don't agree with anything Bill Maher says, hardly ever. I watch his show almost every week because I think he's pushing boundaries. And I'm always going to be interested in people who are going to say the things that other people are scared to say. And that doesn't mean it's okay to, you know, have any kind of violence or hate speech or anything under that terminology. But according to the Federalist, which in all candidness my husband runs, there's now the people who couldn't host the Oscars now include Tiffany Haddish, Donald Glover, Sarah Silverman, Jon Stewart, Tina Fey, Dave Chappelle, and Stephen Colbert, according to things that they've said in the past. So if that's now the Kevin Hart rule, I just don't know who's going to be hosting a
Maybe they can find the 4-year-old.
Or
a little kid,
probably a mime or a juggler.
Or a mime or a juggler or something like that.
That's why no one wants to run for office. No one wants to be as public as they used to be. This is a real problem. I think this should be a wake-up call for everybody.
But everybody wants to be on The View. We'll be right back.
Next, a View exclusive. Michael Bloomberg talks about giving the White House a wake-up call that could save the world. And if he has his eye on the Oval Office in 2020.
If you have postmenopausal osteoporosis and a high risk for fracture.
So, how's this for putting your money where your mouth is? Michael Bloomberg put $100 million behind candidates in the midterm election, which helped turn the tide blue. He's also taking on the White House's environmental policy in his new documentary, Paris to Pittsburgh. Please welcome a man who would have my vote in 2020. I'm just saying. Michael Bloomberg.
Thank you.
Michael. Mayor, Mr. Mayor, I'll call you Mr. Mayor, yes. You always keep those titles, don't you guys? You spent over $100 million helping Democrats in the midterms, and 21 out of 24 people that you backed
And I think 15 were women.
Yep.
And all of them care very much about climate change.
Were women.
18 women?
18 were women, and the blue wave, yeah.
Care about climate change and want background checks for guns. Not to eliminate guns, but background checks. Those are the two things.
So you got everything you were hoping for. Okay. So what are you hoping that all that money gets you in January when they take over? What's going to happen then?
Good government. I mean, I've said this a number of times. The Republicans did not exercise the check and balance on the White House that the Constitution calls for, and they were unwilling to take on any of the controversial issues, any of the major things facing this country. They did absolutely nothing. Time for a change. In business, you'd fire somebody if they did a terrible job. We just fired a bunch of them.
Why do you think the GOP was so, reticent or whatever you want to call it?
They became a party rather than of an ideology, of a personality. And now I think they're going to pay for it because when Mr. Trump is not popular, it hurts them at the ballot box, and they're going to really suffer.
Well, you've been very critical of President Trump, and you've been openly weighing a run against him in 2020. Pretty open. And you started with running the last time. Do you regret that you didn't run the last time?
No, I think we found is you cannot win as an independent because the Electoral College requires a majority, not a plurality. And even if I did get a lot of electoral votes, you couldn't possibly win. It would have gone to the House, and the House would then pick the Republican candidate, or if it was next time, pick the Democratic candidate.
Yeah.
And you have to have the...
You become a spoiler in a way.
Yeah, that's exactly what my obit would have been. He was the spoiler. And this way they can write other things about me when I die.
What would make it more appealing to you then for 2020?
Well, you'd only run if you could get the Republican or the Democratic nomination. Obviously, the Republican's probably not going to be available, and I don't agree with almost everything they stand for today. So it'd have to be the Democratic nomination. And if you want to run, that's what you'd have to do. And I don't know. I've looked at it, and I've said we'll, beginning of the year, focus on it.
So where does that...
Wait, I just want to make clear. You'd be running as a Democrat, correct? Not primarying President Trump.
No, you'd have to run as a Democrat. And before I forget, I just want to say, your father was one of my heroes.
You guys are, I feel it's a little strange interviewing you. We've been longtime family friends.
Well, I knew you when you were this tall.
No, you're a true friend to my family.
Your mother
Weren't you a
upstate
pallbearer at the...
Yes.
Yeah.
He's there.
I was a pallbearer at the funeral.
Pallbearer, and her father campaigned for me on the streets of Brooklyn back in 2000.
One of the most memorable moments of my childhood is going to Italian dinner with you and my dad downtown someplace, and just your wonderful girlfriend. And yes, it's weird to be interviewing you because I know very well her, but I'm fascinated that you will be running possibly for president.
We'll see what happens.
Where do you fit in the Democratic Party? Because obviously you won as a Republican, as an independent, but the excitement right now seems to be behind the more extreme wing of the Democratic Party, Bernie Sanders, Ocasio-Cortez. You would actually probably be more with Trump on things like China and maybe some business dealings, I would imagine.
I think, for example, on China, it is asymmetrical. It's not fair to us. We should do something about it.
So you agree with him there?
With what he's trying to do, but not the way. You don't do it by going and pushing the other person into a situation where they can't possibly give you what you need. Negotiations don't work that way. You want to walk away where both sides think they got something, and we should push China. I'm the first one to advocate for doing it, but it's the style that you do it.
What happened to the art of the deal? I thought that's his whole thing.
Well, that's the name of the book.
Yeah, a bit of diplomacy.
So you think, Phil, you could get through the Democratic primary as it exists today?
Well,
where the excitement
that's exactly what you have to try to figure out. I think most Democrats want a middle-of-the-road strategy. They want to make progress, but they're not willing to go and to push something that has no chance of ever getting done and wasting all their energy on that. We have things that we need done. We have to create jobs for people today. We have to find ways to give medical care for people today. We have to fix our education system, immigration, climate change, guns. There's no lack of issues you have to face. And if you go off on trying to push for something that has no chance of getting done, that we couldn't possibly pay for, that just takes away from where you can really make progress in helping people that need help today.
It'll be interesting to see how that plays out. You've made a lot of calls for bipartisanship, but you're a leading voice in the anti-gun movement, which puts you immediately at odds with a lot of Republicans. You spent a lot of money, but Congress hasn't taken up any major gun control measures at a national level since Sandy Hook. So do you feel like your efforts have been effective?
What I have asked for, and most of my friends who have asked for, are background checks. We shouldn't be selling guns to minors, to people with psychiatric problems, or people with criminal records. Other than that, the Second Amendment gives you the right to own weapons, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's the Constitution. We're not going to change it. I think maybe automatic weapons don't make a lot of sense, but if you want to buy a gun and go through the background check process, that's what the law lets you do. And I'm not in favor of taking that away one bit. In fact, I had an NRA member came up to me yesterday and said, look, I disagree with you on guns, but let me tell you, I and all my friends are going to vote for you. I still think that there is reasonable restrictions you can put on who you sell guns to, and that's what I'm in favor of.
It disheartens you that there hasn't been any legislation passed since Sandy Hook?
No, but there's been a lot at the state level. There are 18 states that have put in background check requirements, not taking away your guns. Just before you buy one, you have to go through the background check process. The 19th state is Nevada. The public there voted for it, but the governor's not implemented it. And there are another, 31 states that we can get at a local level. It'd be a lot easier if the Congress did it. Just have background checks. And when you survey NRA members, 80 and 90% of them want background checks.
This could go on forever, but we have to take a break so that we can talk about the other project that you're involved in, okay? So it's not that much time. More with Michael Bloomberg.
no matter how much you clean,
to push health care and paying, not realizing that we're spending so much money on health care, thereby making it unaffordable for a lot of people to get health care. We have got to make sure we hold pharmaceutical companies accountable. We've got to bring down the cost of health care so we can give as much people access
the same thing you are.
Bernie Sanders says that. He's wanting the government to pay for all of it. And where do you get the money to pay for all of that?
Maybe
we
take
have
some of the money
so
from
much
the wall.
Well,
I
mean, let me ask. Okay, now we're getting into a completely. Wait a minute.
Let me ask you this, though.
But that we're getting into a completely different issue.
Let me ask you this.
It is how you view the role of government. You and I view it in an entirely different way than the rest of the table.
I'm a mayor. I have realized that the best solutions are found at the most local level. When you're making decisions from whether it's the White House or even in Washington, less people have a voice. And so you have got to, limited government to me doesn't mean you cut everything. Limited government means that everything's applied at the appropriate level.
Let me ask you this.
And I can do more as a mayor, trying to take care, if I had all of the resources as a mayor as opposed to making decisions
Let me ask you this.
In Washington.
You said during your concession speech, and I don't have it verbatim, but that Republicans must embrace minorities in order to sort of increase the diversity of the Republican Party. And you mentioned that Republicans fail to take minorities into their hearts and their homes. And it almost seemed like a revelation to you. And I just ask you, because as a black Republican, that doesn't make a lot of sense to me when you have a Republican Party that's, you know, supporting a president who was a birther, Central Park 5, DOJ settlement, not letting black people rent, you know, you're Haitian American, he called Haitian.
I wish I called him out for that.
Why were you so surprised by that?
Well, let me just, we're not going to let Democrats off the hook, because I was actually targeted by Democrats. They targeted me because, I need to say this, they targeted me because because I am a black female Republican, and they replaced me with a middle-aged white male in the state of Utah.
Well, the voters
so there was a whole lot of money in an R+13 district that went to take me out. Look at Carlos Curbelo. They tried to get rid of every single diversity that they possibly could, and to me, diversity on the left side is good for them if you think the same way they do.
I don't agree with that. I don't think, you know, Carlos got replaced by a woman, first Ecuadorian that's going to serve. Look, I think it's politics. I think it's about the numbers. They wanted a majority, and so if it means taking out the only black Republican, they did. If it means taking out Curbelo, they did. I don't think to them it was targeting a black woman. But one thing you said, which to me was very interesting, you said that when Trump said she gave me no love, you didn't think it was about race. And actually, and something you just alluded to, for me, the issues where you most clashed with him were precisely about race. You did stand up to him and clash with him when he called Haiti an African.
Racist?
You did slam him about ending Haitian temporary protective status, which I don't think you get enough credit for.
Okay, let me answer.
Those were race-based issues that you were clashing with him on.
To me, those are American issues. It was a right or wrong issue. It is about America, democracy at its best. And what I did was I stood up for what I believe was right and what I believe our district thought was the right thing to do. And I'll continue to voice those opinions.
Do you think he's a racist, Mia?
I'm not going to get into his head and decide
look at his track record.
But here's
what
issue.
he is. I'm not going to.
Here's the problem, and I do want to say this because I think it's important to have different views at this table. That is what the view is. And if you are a Republican today, I don't think every question about you should be about Trump, because Trump does not speak for every single Republican, and it's difficult today being a part of the conservative party or Republican party.
He targeted her. He's the one who brought it up. Who brought it up? It's hard not to speak about Trump when he danced on her political grave, which is really offensive and disgusting for a Republican president to do about a Republican woman.
And you spoke out well about that.
Look, I am who I am. I am a Republican. I'm a conservative, but I'm not defined by the White House. I'm defined by a set of principles, and those principles lift everyone from the lowest common denominator up. I am about America. I'm a mother first and a wife, and those are the principles I'm going to live by.
Maybe when he's out of office, you can run again.
We run again.
All right. Our thanks to Congresswoman Mia Love. Thank you so much for being with us. You have the full view experience. I will tell you that. I will be right back. on the table during holiday celebrations, you might catch yourself asking, how did I end up with this family? Well, now you can find out once and for all, thanks to our sponsor, Ancestry. Joy, Megan, and I gave them DNA samples, and joining us with the results is family historian Lisa Elzy. Lisa, great to have you here. So before we get into the results, because none of us know what's in those results, tell us about Ancestry and how people can do it.
Yeah, so Ancestry DNA is a saliva-based test that you order online, and then you mail in your sample. And within about 4 to 6 weeks, you'll get your ethnicity results, which comes from over 350 regions around the world, which is twice as many regions as the other DNA tests out there. You'll also receive migration pattern information about your ancestors, where they settled over time. And because Ancestry DNA connects you to people, places, and cultures of your past, it makes the perfect holiday gift this season, especially with our sale right now, which is only $59 per kit.
So let's get those results. Let's start with Joy. We often hear about your Italian roots. What do you expect?
I figure 90% Swedish. I would say there's a little Jewish and a little Sephardic Jew in there, maybe.
Okay.
The Sephardic Jewish were from the western part of Europe, and the Ashkenazi are from the eastern part, like Russia and that part.
Yeah.
So I figured Italian, Sephardic might work, and certainly African American because of where Italy is situated.
Okay.
And many people have gone through southern Italy over the many centuries.
Yes, yeah. And you're not far off. In fact, you are 92% Italy. So there's that.
You've been right all this time.
And more specifically, we have a sub-region there that's Calabria, which I believe is from your father's side.
My family's from Calabria.
Yeah. So that's listed in your DNA results.
Okay.
But on top of that, you're also 6% Turkey and Caucasus, which is in that Mediterranean region.
Caucasus?
Caucasus. Caucasus, it's hard to say.
Turkish and Caucasus.
Yeah, Turkey and Caucasus region, which includes lots of different countries in that area. And then 2% Middle East.
Oh.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so you have a lot of that Mediterranean region there.
No Greek in there? I'm surprised there's no Greek.
Yeah, maybe, it kind of bleeds in a little bit.
So no surprises really there.
Yeah.
What about the migration?
The migration, so specifically your migrations, Italians left Italy a lot after World War I. And I believe that's when part of your family came over here, was in the 20s.
My grandfather fought in World War I for the United States.
Yeah.
But he was born in Italy, and then my whole family fought in World War II.
Yeah.
My uncles, my father, everybody.
Yeah, and that's exactly what your migration says, that they kind of landed in New York. So I think
sure.
There you go.
Wow. A little bit Middle Eastern, though. Who knew?
Yeah, a little Middle Eastern.
All right, Megan, what about you?
This is terrible, but my family's so American in the sense that, like, my grandfather, my great-grandfather were both four-star admirals in the Navy. There's a general, John McCain, that fought in the Revolution with George Washington.
Yeah.
So I know that, like, we're, like, American through and through. So I don't even think of myself as anything other than American, which I was telling someone that last night, and they thought it was a little weird. So I actually have no idea. I assume Scottish.
Okay.
Maybe.
You're not far off either.
That's all I got for you guys.
You are 62% England, Wales, and Northwestern Europe. So that's the majority of your DNA.
Ooh.
And then you have 34% Ireland and Scotland.
Okay.
So a lot of that British Isles region, which explains a lot of the American, settlers kind of thing. But we have a couple of surprises. You have 2% Norway. Oh. So a little bit of that Scandinavian flair. But the biggest surprises is you are 1% Native American Andean.
But really?
Really? Last surprise is 1% Senegal.
Oh, okay.
So African.
Wow.
1%
Wonderful.
African.
I mean, that shouldn't be that surprising, really. I mean, they say that's like where we're all from originally, where the birth of mankind started. So, but can you get to the American part? Not that that's not all wonderful, but yeah.
The migration. So yeah, specifically your migrations talk about Tennessee and the southern states. So you have a lot of south there. And yours had a subregion which went from West Tennessee to Arkansas to Texas. So it talks about that migration pattern there. But more specifically, southern states for you.
All right, I'm guessing mine is,
Thank you.
I'm guessing German, Swedish, and then half my family were Mormon pioneers. The other half were like deep south, so.
Okay. Yeah, not far off as well.
Okay.
You are 69% England, Wales, and Northwestern Europe.
Megan and I are
Yeah, you share with Megan.
Does.
Yeah. And then 16% Sweden.
Oh, that's,
There's that Swedish you were talking about. 12% Ireland and Scotland. So again, those British Isles. And then 3% Norway.
Okay.
So very much Western European.
Yeah, very similar. And then migration.
Yeah,
Any
in fact,
surprises
you
there?
had the most migrations of anyone at the table.
Ooh.
You had quite a few. In fact, most of your migrations are North Carolina and South Carolina. And what's really cool is you have a very specific subregion of North Carolina Blue Ridge Mountain settlers. It's a really small pocket in North Carolina.
I love Blue Ridge.
Yeah, and you can find
I'm going to claim that. Is
Yeah.
that okay?
Yes, you claim it.
I love that. All right. Well, our thanks to Lisa, Elsie,
Yeah.
and of course our thanks to our sponsor, Ancestry. And guess what? Everyone in the audience is going home with an Ancestry DNA kit. You guys will all get to do it. And we'll be right back.
Hey, it's Ruben Sutter and Clay Aiken, and we're teaming up for a brand new Christmas show right here on Broadway.
Yeah, people think we're still bitter rivals because Ruben beat me on Idol 15 years ago, but I'm so over that.
If you're over it, why you keep bringing it up all the time?
We're coming up next.
He's not over it.
My friend Clay Aiken and his former American Idol rival Ruben Studdard are joining forces to kick off a holiday tradition with their first annual Christmas Carol Family Fun Pageant Spectacular Reunion Show. Please welcome Clay Aiken and Ruben Studdard. Yes!
We have no better cheerleader.
I love it. I love it.
All right, you guys met 15 years ago, obviously, on American Idol. You've been close friends ever since. How did you get the idea for this Broadway show?
You know, I had seen Ruben perform on his Luther tour back in April, and I hadn't sung for a while. And I saw him perform, and he was so good in it, and it started making me miss her singing a little bit. And we looked back at the fact that we had sung on this show in 2016, I think, together, Christmas, and thought, okay, that's what we should do. We should do something Christmas. And it kind of snowballed from there. So The View has something to do with why we started
Thank
doing
you.
it.
And Ruben, I understand it's just not singing, right?
Absolutely
it's a little
not.
bit more.
We're doing we're recreating like the classic variety show tradition. So we're just having a good time. You know, like Carol Burnett, all those people that, you know, preceded us in funny.
Ruben's very funny.
Oh.
I can make you laugh a little bit.
Yeah.
A couple of jokes.
I've gotten to see a little bit of previews, too, because we're good friends. It's awkward interviewing you. I'm sorry. But what do you both love about performing live?
I love, especially with him, it's just that it comes so natural. Like, he and I have just this really good banter with one another, and I love being on stage with him, but I love singing. I love performing. I like to see people having a good time. So
it's nice to get feedback immediately, you know? And we've both done tape stuff. You've both done tape stuff.
Yeah.
You kind of see it. You see it 3 weeks later. The audience gets it. It's nice to hear that response right away. And the nice thing about doing 8 shows a week on Broadway with this great cast is it's kind of new every single night. So
That's right.
That's fun for us.
All right, are you guys ready? Here to perform a Holy Night from their Broadway show. Give it up for Clay Aiken and Ruben Studdard!
Holy night, and the stars are brightly shining. This is the night of our dear Savior's birth. Long lay the world in sin and error pining, till he appeared and the soul felt its worth. A thrill of hope, the weary world rejoices, for yonder breaks a new and glorious morn. Fall on your knees, oh, hear the angel voices, oh, night divine, oh, night when Christ was born.
much, and thank you all of you. All right, Ruben and Clay's Christmas show has a limited 3-week run starting tonight through December 30th at the Imperial Theater on Broadway. And great news, members of our audience are all going home with $1,000. We'll be right back.
7th on ABC.
Monday, will the next presidential election be a battle of the billionaires? For the first time on daytime TV, the man who turned the tide in the midterm elections, Michael Bloomberg, is talking about whether he'll take on Trump in 2020. Plus, Oscar and Emmy winner Aaron Sorkin. And it's one-stop holiday shopping on View Your Deal.
So, before we go, we have a minute to talk for a second. So I was wondering, since we just heard Oh Holy Night, what's your favorite Christmas song?
Oh, This Christmas.
How does
It's
that
called
go?
This Christmas.
I never heard
And
of it.
this Christmas will be a very special Christmas.
How many people recognize
for
that
me?
song?
Hang all the mistletoe.
Okay. I don't know.
Sonny, I can see why you're on The View and not on Broadway.
Exactly.
I did love you.
I have two myself. One is Grandma Got Run Over by a Reindeer. That's a good one.
That's sad.
Donald got run over by a reindeer. And then the other one is the one that Darlene Love sings, which I can't remember the name of it again.
It's
Christmas Baby, Please Come Home. She's coming on next week.
That's a good one.
I love when she comes. We do Christmas. That's a fabulous one.
That's a good one.
Which
Mine's Feliz Navidad, which makes you laugh so hard. It's my favorite.
That's a good one.
I'm so fun.
Anna?
Right, so fun.
I love Little Drummer Boy, and I love it in English. I love it in Spanish. Exactly.
Okay, yours?
Mine is Baby It's Cold Outside because the PC police need to take a seat. And I never it's my favorite song.
Okay, before we go, we want to remind our viewers that today marks the 77th anniversary of the day that will live in infamy, the bombing of Pearl Harbor. Remember that. Our men went to war over that. Have a great day, everyone, and take a little time to enjoy the view.